Hey friends, welcome back. I am Jason. Let's play hide and seek. So when it comes to camouflage, concealment, blending into your environment, disappearing, probably the most important thing is just going to be movement or the lack of movement. You'll notice in that shot that happened just now, when I was moving, you could pick me out very, very clearly. But as soon as I sat still, it was really, really difficult to pick out where everything was because of the camouflage that I'm wearing and the location that I was in. I had quite a few things, large trees and some smaller vegetation in front of me concealing my person. So the lack of movement is going to be probably the biggest thing. More important than the clothing, the type of camouflage that you're wearing, you not moving is going to be really, really important. You can move your head without moving your body, do that. If you can move your eyes without moving your head, perfect, do that. Because that's going to make it much, much more difficult for anybody, any passerby, anybody in the area to pick up your movement, whether that be a person or an animal that you're hunting. If I was posted up right here, and let's say this was my spot that I had picked out for my ambush for whatever reason, if I can move just my eyeballs and scan the terrain around me, scan the area around me, perfect. If I have to move my head to get a little bit more visual, something over further to the right or possibly behind me, I can move my head, but I need to do it very, very slowly. You need to be disciplined enough to do that. The best hunters, the ones that are the most successful, are probably the most patient hunters. Patience. Move slowly. Really calculated movements if you have to move at all. If you don't have to move, don't. But if I was going to move my head, if let's say there was something over here, I heard a sound, whatever it is, just felt like something was over here to my right, I can move my head, but I need to do it ridiculously slow. So that motion is not picked up immediately. Because if I was to just do that, anybody around would see that motion and their eyes would go straight to it, right? That's just the way we're designed. Our eyes are designed to pick up motion. So the less you move, the better. Along the same lines of movement or lack of movement is comfort. The more comfortable you are, the less likely you are to move. If you are sitting on a sharp rock or a stick jabbing you in your backside, if you're leaning up against a tree that's at the wrong angle, or you're cold, or you're wet, you're much more likely to fidget and to move around. So if you can be comfortable and you can get yourself set up in a good situation. Like I know I've done this enough. I've been out. I like to turkey hunt. Turkey hunting is kind of my thing. That's what I was doing this morning. I know what I need. So I'm always kind of scanning for a really good posting spot. I'm always scanning for my ambush location. So if I should see a turkey, hear that gobbler or whatever, I know that my spot is right there. I've got it. So I'm always looking. And if you were in some situation where it was human targets that you were worried about, you'd be doing the same thing, or at least you should be doing the same thing. Always looking for cover and concealment everywhere that you are. So it's always just right there. Let's say the most likely scenario, the most likely event is that whatever my target is coming from the bottom down here. So I've got the high ground, which is a distinct advantage. I can see really well around me. I've got some cover, right? I've got some cover and concealment from the trees and foliage around me. What I would want to do is post myself up here and be as comfortable as possible. So if I have the time, I would set up my little pad here and I would get myself as comfortable as possible. And I would be sitting my caboose right on top of that pad right there. And I like to wear a pack, not necessarily because I feel like I need the stuff in the pack, but because it makes an excellent backrest. So if I'm set up here on the hill, I just sit back on my backrest here, my pack, and I can be scanning this area, and I can scan this area in front of me, and I can see really, really well. And I am going to be next to impossible to pick out because I'm low to the ground. I'm wearing camouflage that blends into my environment. I'm not moving. I'm being very, very still, being very, very quiet. And it's and I've got layers of vegetation between me and whoever or whatever is down there. So I'm going to be in this position right here, exactly where I am. I feel like this is a really, really good ambush spot for a would-be turkey or bad guy. I'm going to take the camera about, let's say 20 yards away, give or take, something like that. Maybe down to the bottom there, maybe might be 30 yards away. I'm going to put the camera down there, and then I'm going to cut. And I'm going to be set up in this location. I don't want you to see if you can see me. I want you to see if it's easy to pick me out. So that's 25, I'd say 25 yards away, give or take, well within pistol range. And a turkey, a bad guy, would be in a bad spot right there. Very unlikely that I would be detected right there just by visual alone. If I can remain motionless and have a good lay of the land, and I'm sighted in, I'm facing the most likely area, direction of approach, the path most traveled, then I'm going to be in good shape. Now, there's always a problem. There's always the problem of, okay, well, you're set up in this direction, facing this way. You've got basically 180 degrees, give or take, field of view. What do you do if something comes behind you? Yeah, that sucks. That happens all the time, especially while hunting. You know, you're set up in one location. You're expecting something to come from that way, and then it's totally not even close to what you expected, and you've got to maneuver. Again, site selection is important. Is it possible for you to move without being seen and turn around 180 degrees? That's a tricky one. Again, moving very, very slowly. That's the thing. The method that works for me, that I've used the most, is this right here. And I'll show you, like, so let's say I was expecting target to be behind me, but it ended up being up here. This is what I typically do. So I'll try to show you kind of in real time what I would do in that situation. This is what I looked like, by the way. I was looking at the camera the whole time that you were down there. I was posted up on the camera, ready to go. But let's say something came from behind me. What would I do? I would move extremely slowly. Maybe I'll speed it up just a little bit because it would take a while and you might get bored. But I'll speed it up just a little bit. So I would move my body. If I heard noise, I would get as low as I could without moving as little as possible. And I would switch from that seated position to a prone position. And now I'm covering that opposite direction. Not ideal, obviously, but it is what it is. If you gotta move, you gotta move. Sometimes what you do, if you have eyes on your target, you wait until your target, and your target's moving, obviously, you wait until your target is behind some sort of cover where you can't see through it, like a big tree. You know, if, let's say my target was moving from the right up here down this slope, down this ridge, and they were coming this way, I would wait until they got behind that clump of trees right there before I moved. And I would move a little bit quicker then. I would take advantage of that opportunity where there's no possible way that they could see through that tree, and I would move as quickly and as quietly as I possibly can. But again, if you're sitting for long periods of time, leaning up against a tree or laying down, laying in a prone position for a long period of time, let's say the weather is cool, it's very likely that you're going to get the chills and start to shiver and start to move, and you're going to be fidgety and moving, and you don't want that. You don't want to be rustling. It's wet out. It's been raining a ton, so everything's wet, and it's really easy to move quietly. But if it wasn't the case and it was dry, any type of movement would just lots of crunching of the leaves would be not ideal. So limiting your movement, being comfortable in a pad like this is a game changer. I used to not ever carry this stuff. I used to try to go as minimal as possible when I was hunting, and but then I quickly realized just a little bit of gear, just a little bit of the right gear makes a big difference. One of the reasons why I like hunting turkeys so much is because they're a lot like human beings. They can see really well. They have color vision just like us, better than us. Smells don't really bother them that much, so it's not like deer. When you're hunting deer or other game like that, you're constantly worried about wind direction and stuff. With turkeys, you're not. With humans, you're probably not going to be as concerned with smells. It's just not, our noses are not that keen. Yes, I get it. It's a thing, but it's not as big of a deal. Sounds are important. You've got to be cautious of the noises that you're making. Natural noises, a little bit of scuffling. I mean, there's always squirrels and wind and branches and trees and stuff in the woods that are constantly moving. There's going to be a little bit of natural noise, but it's the big stuff. It's the big, like stepping on a branch and well, that's a bad example. That kind of stuff stands out, and it's pretty obvious that that's not a squirrel moving in the woods. So a little bit of rustling in the leaves and stuff is acceptable to some degree. Sometimes you just can't help it. But big breaking, snapping, unnatural sound, clanking of gear and stuff like that. Tape things up if you need to. If you got rattling stuff, tape it up. Limit how much noise you're making. So let's talk clothing, camouflage clothing. This is mossy oak obsession, I believe, and in the springtime where I live, this works really well because the plants are just starting to pop green, this bright, really vibrant green, that right there. And as the days go on, there's going to be more and more of that on the ground, especially. Not a whole lot just yet. We just got over probably our last freeze. So, but there's going to be more and more of that, and this is going to blend in even more. But even now, when there's not that much of it going on, this blends in quite well. But what I found is the type of camouflage doesn't really matter that much, at least in my opinion. I mean, there's some exceptions, like if you're in snow. Yeah, I mean, you're going to probably stick out wearing green camouflage in the snow. I usually mix and match and do whatever. Maybe a fashion no-no, but I don't really care. So just whatever camouflage that I've got typically gets the job done. Like I said, I think this is obsession. This is my pants, I believe, are multicam. I've just got some green shoes on. I got a camouflage hat and a neck gaiter. The neck gaiter is a big deal. Your face is even with a beard and even with a suntan, you know, your face can be shiny. So in the human eye is really good at picking out a face from a long distance away. So if you can conceal that in some way, that is a big deal. The next one that is really, really important, and a lot of people don't think about it, is your hands. These things, my hands, especially when you get them in the, see if you can see that, especially when you get them in the sunshine, see that? They're really bright. So let me put the camera over here a little ways. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's say I'm camoed up, right? And I'm posted up here and I'm looking really good, but I neglect my hands. And I'm sitting here and I'm ready to go, and I do any kind of this stuff, any of that, any kind of movement with my hands at all, or even no movement, my hands just stick out. And I've noticed that from watching footage of myself in similar situations and hunting situations. I noticed that I could see my hands. So what I highly suggest is just a simple pair of camo gloves. I don't like to wear gloves. I don't generally like to wear gloves, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's important. So just a thin pair of camo gloves like this are the ticket, and it's much, much better. I mean, you could be out here and even a little bit of movement here is not going to be nearly as noticeable. I typically cut the trigger finger out, one, so I can feel what I'm doing if I've got to mess with something on my rifle or shotgun or whatever, if I'm working the camera. So I typically cut the finger off. But another thing to pay attention to is shiny things, like my ring around my neck, my wedding ring. If this was around my neck and I was wanting to be sneaky and discreet, I'd make sure I get it tucked away. My shoes, I don't know why on earth you'd want this on your shoes, but these are reflective. So at night, if you shine a flashlight on those, these are older shoes, so probably not, but in the beginning, they would have reflected that light back. It's not like I'm running down a road or something at night. I don't know why I would ever want reflective shoes, but you get what I'm saying. So making sure that you don't have shiny metal reflective things, your rifle or whatever, make sure it's a matte, dull shade of something. Black does not blend in well. I don't have an example of that. I'm gonna talk about different clothing and stuff like that and how you can still blend into your environment regardless of what you're wearing. But black is not good for the woods. It does not blend in. It's like you just look like this dark hole out there in the distance that's really easy to spot. Black does not blend in well. Like underneath my shirt, I just got a brown long sleeve shirt like that, and I could blend into this environment just with that alone. The leaf litter on the ground is basically that color. So earth tones is gonna be where they go, and that's pretty much what I wear all the time. Another piece of kit that I've taken to using that my buddy turned me on to is just a sniper's veil. This right here. It's just a mesh, you know, almost a net, camouflage net. And it works quite well. So let's say you're not wearing all the fancy camouflage like that I've got going on here. By the way, this is not expensive stuff. This is like cheap Walmart stuff. It's, you know, nothing fancy at all. But let's say you don't have the camouflage on. You've got a bright green, bright red shirt on or something like that. You could throw this over you really fast and disappear. And so that's one reason why I like to carry this. And plus it's just kind of a multi-purpose cloth. You can wear it around your neck like a scarf, you know, keep yourself warm in the winter time. You can it'll help keep bugs off your face and stuff. It's just you can use it as a makeshift fanny pack. You could roll your kit up in it and tie it around your waist. It's just a really, really handy thing, this sniper veil. It's pretty big. Let's see if you could see. It's probably 3 by 6 feet, give or take. And it's just a pretty handy thing. And another thing that's cool about it is leaves stick to it. so if you go through the woods long enough, you're gonna end up with sticks and leaves stuck to it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, it gets hung up on things, which is kind of annoying, but it'll help blend into its environment if it's got some natural debris stuck to it. And like I said before, as I'm walking along, constantly scanning for cover and concealment if I should need to make a quick dash to set up my hasty ambush. I'm always looking for small little pieces of micro terrain, as it is called. Basically a small depression, like this one right here in front of me. But this small little drainage right here, this small little depression is going to conceal my body significantly. I can lay down and be completely covered from pretty much all directions. I can still get a pretty good visual of what's going on around me, but most of my body is covered up. This is actually a really good spot right here. So if I was setting up a hasty ambush, this would not be bad at all, because I can see quite well all the way around, but I've got good cover from the earth right here. Bullets don't go through earth very well at all. And I've got good concealment from all the dead stuff here in front of me. Just the depression that I'm laying in, the trees and stuff around me. This right here would not be a bad spot to be in right here. Again, I'd have my pack on and I could be leaning up against it. I have my mat underneath me, keeping me warm and dry. If I needed to switch directions over here, I could see all of this around me. Pretty good spot. Something else to be cautious of when you're trying to blend in is this kind of stuff right here. See that? Right? If I bump this branch, right, that whole tree wiggles. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff, and you got to pay attention. Again, the less you can move, the better. But if you got to move, it's ideal if you can get rid of some of this stuff. So I could quietly, when I first set my position up here, if this is where I wanted to be, I could very quietly kind of get some of this stuff out of my way, right? More quiet than that, obviously, but move some of that stuff on away so I'm less likely to bump it. If you can stay out of the sunshine, that is going to be the best. If you can stay in the shadows, that's going to be ideal. Take into consideration that the sun is going to move, and what started out in the shade may not be in the shade for very long. So keep that in mind. But if you can stay in the dark, a darker place, and avoid like that bright patch right there, stay out of areas like that and make sure that you're in the shaded areas, it's going to be much more difficult to pick you out if the light's not shining on you. If I was moving through this area right here, I'd be looking for some spots that would give me good concealment, but also give me the ability to see out, because ultimately the goal is to see but to not be seen. So you don't want to be, I mean, yeah, I could bury myself completely underground, right? Cover my whole body up, and then there's no possible way anybody could spot me. But then I'm pretty much useless as well, because I can't see what's going on and I can't effectively do anything. So that's the trick. Be concealed, be able to see, but not be seen. So as I was scanning around here, I'd be looking for spots that don't immediately draw my eye. So, you know, some dark, thick patches over there, that might be where I kind of pop into and see if that looks like a good spot for me to hide out and still have a good vantage point of the land around me. You know, I wouldn't go to the spots right here that my eyes immediately, that bright spot right there, my eyes immediately go to that. So clearly that's not going to be a good spot for me to lie in wait. Even fully camoed like I am, if I'm out there in the open in the sunshine, it's just not going to work out well for me. So those darker, thicker foliage areas, that's kind of what I want. The other thing I don't know if I mentioned about the sniper veil is it breaks up the human silhouette. You know, your shoulders and your head have this very distinct outline. And I mean, you never want to be up here on top of a ridge or anything like that, because you could be silhouetted with the skyline behind you or something like that. And it's really easy to spot you. You want to be somewhere in the middle. You don't want to be necessarily all the way on top, and you definitely don't want to be on the bottom, because you lose some visibility. But this sniper veil draped over my head and my shoulders can break up that silhouette that my head and shoulders creates, that's so easily identifiable. This is covering up my face, breaking up my silhouette, but I can still see through it. Not great, obviously, but I can still have a visual of what's going on around me, and if I need to get a little bit more, I can just pick it up over the brim of my hat. All right, let's play some more hide and go seek. I'm gonna pop over here. I'm gonna set the camera down. I'm gonna go no more than 10 yards away. I'm gonna make sure that I'm staying really close to this spot right here that we're in. You can see all the way around. There's no secrets, no surprises. This is where we are. I'm gonna go 10 yards from this location in some direction, and I'm gonna see if you can spot me. And can you see me? Did you spot me? I was no more than maybe, I'd say 12 yards away, give or take. Really close. And it'd be really difficult to spot me if I had to guess. I haven't seen the footage yet, but you can let me know what you think in the comments section. Let's do it again. Let's say I'm in a hurry here. I've got to pick out my spot for a hasty ambush, and ready, set, go. So I was laying in the prone position there, probably, it might be 20 yards, maybe 15, 20 yards away, give or take, laying in the prone position. I had eyes on you the entire time, but did you have eyes on me? Let's go back to, what if you don't have the camouflage? What if you're unprepared and you're wearing just regular clothes? So here's a, red flannel shirt, plaid shirt that I would wear on a typical, normal day in the colder months at least. Let's see how well we can disguise ourselves. And this is where that sniper veil would come in handy. So if you didn't have camouflage clothing on, you could make yourself camouflage pretty quick. But let's assume that we don't have anything and it's just you and your clothes. I've ditched all my gear. I don't have my pack or anything like that. Let's see how well I can blend in this plaid shirt. So let's say I'm walking along, I'm calling my turkeys or whatever I'm doing out here, and I hear, that means there's one close, and I should probably pick out my spot really, really quickly. Where's the spot that doesn't immediately draw my eye? I could be comfortable, and let's say, sound is coming from that way. That's where the enemy's coming, right? That's where Charlie is. He's over there, and he's coming this way. I pick out my spot really, really quickly. I'm gonna set you up as if you are Charlie. Boom, that's my spot right there. See that clump of dead branches and stuff right there with some foliage in front of it? That's my spot. So if I know that if my target is this direction and I'm behind that, it's gonna be really difficult to pick me out. So I'm gonna move you, 15 yards or so out this way in the direction most likely traveled. Right here, there's a game trail right here that might someone might want to follow. And I'll even put you up higher as if you are, you know, a normal sized human being. Oh, another tip. See, I think, I haven't seen the footage, you tell me what you think, but my guess is that even with a red plaid shirt on like this, I was still fairly concealed as long as I wasn't moving. Another trick, if you don't have gloves on, that I've used in the past if I've forgotten my gloves or something, is I take a little bit of dirt like that, and I'll smudge it onto my hands, onto the back of my hands like that. Make sure you get your fingertips and stuff inside of your hands too. Just dirty them up, right? And that is much more matte, not shiny, blends into its environment compared to that right there, right? Now this will dry out a little bit and then get lighter in color, but it still gets rid of that sheen that your skin might have. And then you can always just reapply, but the dirt method works pretty good. All right, so same thing. Let's say I'm just wearing a gray t-shirt, right? Obviously this wouldn't work quite as well if you had a bright white shirt on or a neon yellow shirt or something ridiculous. But if you've got some sort of earth tone, right? Gray, brown, green, something like that, you're probably gonna be okay as long as you can remain motionless, as long as you can use good tactics and pick out good spots. So we'll play the game again with just my gray shirt here. And when I'm moving through the woods, I typically try to skirt along the edge of some good cover, good concealment, I should say, not cover. But I try to skirt along the edge of like rhododendron thickets or mountain laurel like this right here. So I'll skirt along that so I know that I've got good cover or good concealment right there, really close by. So if I should hear Charlie out there and I need to tuck away, I could do it really, really quickly. So I've got you up in a tree that's maybe 7 feet tall, give or take. So you're a real tall guy walking through the woods, right? I'm gonna go no more than about 10 yards away. Yeah, guys, so I was definitely no more than 10 yards away right there. And chances are, unless you were looking really, really closely and I wasn't moving, you probably didn't see me. Here's my call to action for you guys. Get out, play some hide and go seek, right? Get your kids out in the woods. Kids are really good at this. Get your kids out, get your wife out there, get you and your buddy out there, whatever. Play some hide and go seek in the woods, some tactical hide and go seek, and see how well you can blend into your environment and disappear. Work on different distances. One guy can set up his ambush location. Another guy can move through the area and just see if he can spot him. And then the guy that's in the ambush position lying in wait can let him know what he has seen and how easy it would have been to pick him off. But anyway, a little bit of camouflage goes a long ways, guys. I hope you found this helpful, at least to some degree. Leave things in the comment section, tips, tricks that have worked well for you. If you've got some experience with this kind of stuff, I'm no expert. This is just stuff that's worked for me. So I'd be happy to learn from you guys as well. So leave lots of comments for me. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I cannot wait to see you on the next one.